Hello, you beautiful, beautiful bunch, and welcome to what is my second ever care guide. My first one in well over a year and very different to my first one. This will be about leopard geckos, namely this one will be between myself and Dottie, my little leopard gecko. I've had Dottie now for about 3 years and she's an absolute little diamond. This will just be really the basics. It will just help you along your way just to think, are leopard geckos for me? Can I offer the right care? Am I willing to just feed bugs and have live bugs in my house? Do I have the right setup? Or even if you've already got one, am I doing it right? Can I improve? Can I do better? And what next for my animal? So let's jump straight into it with something that I think is very, very important. If anyone ever tries to tell you that leopard geckos are nocturnal and that they don't need overhead heat or lighting and that they just need underbelly heat, please disregard this. This is not true. Leopard geckos are crepuscular, which basically means that they are out and most active at dusk and dawn. So yes, they will be out basking, or a lot of the times you'll find they do what's called cryptic basking. So whilst they might not be directly underneath the halogen and the UVB, maybe their tail is sticking out from a crevice or a crack, or they're still shaded but still receiving some of that light and UV. But trust me, it is very beneficial and they will 100% use it. So please offer your leopard geckos overhead heat, preferably in the form of halogen, and definitely UVB. UVB, I use a Shade Dweller Mini, but I'm hoping to upgrade this to the normal Shade Dweller. But as long as it's a 7% fitting, I use the Arcadia 7%. It is perfect. Basically, I am hoping to upgrade her to have LED lighting as well, because I think that really sets off any reptile enclosure, and it does help them because obviously their eyesight isn't as good as ours, so they do benefit from having more light. Every reptile will benefit from overhead heat and UVB because it's the closest thing we can do to replicate their natural light in their environment. So yes, at the minute she's in her humid hide and not basking, but she has the option to. And a lot of people say with leopard geckos, yeah, but they need belly heat. That's fine. This rock is warming up beautifully and it's going to soak up all of that warmth, that heat, and it's going to slowly release it when that goes off. So if she needs belly heat, you will find her on here in the evening. Full transparency, my care didn't start great either. This is me with my first 2 ever leopard geckos. Another thing that you will find is people saying that they offer nighttime light, so a blue light or a red light. This again is incredibly unnecessary and not beneficial in the slightest. The only reason to have anything on at night will be for nighttime heat. Only necessary if your reptile room or the enclosure or the room that the animal is in drops below safely 18 to 16 degrees. Anything below that and you will probably need heat at night, but this will be accomplished with a deep heat projector or potentially a ceramic heat emitter, but your deep heat projector is the better option, hooked to a thermostat of course, just to keep things safe, and that is what you're after if you want nighttime heat. Otherwise, please make sure that your leopard gecko is getting a day and night cycle. Right, let's look at basking temperatures. So on the rock, we've currently got around about 29-30 degrees. On the cork bark, it's saying around about 37-38. And then underneath in the hot hide, you're looking at about 27 to 29. Oh, 30, there you go, so it's a little bit higher. But then let's look at the stack. So you've got 25 under there, 25 around about there, 28, 29, and then in the cool section, but oh, look who's come out to say hello. Hello, sweetheart.
Hello.
We've got a 24-25 degree cool end, so that's perfect. So she's basically got from between the higher 30s all the way over here all the way down to 25 down there, so she can regulate her own temperature. She's in her humid hide currently, as I think she's going into shed. She does look a little bit dusty, but that's what you want. You want them to be able to regulate their temperature and go from hot to cool to warm to humid wherever they go. So the next thing on the list is let's look at their diet. Leopard geckos are insectivorous. It's the only thing that their diet consists of is insects. They won't eat anything like Pangea, Repashy, any sort of leopard gecko diet. They are insectivorous. They will eat the very occasional pinky mouse or anything like that, but please note it's a very, very rare treat. Or if your female has laid eggs, whether they are fertile or not, it's a very good boost of calcium and calories. Otherwise, stick to the insects. Now, obviously, you want to make sure you're not offering just one type of insect. You want to make sure that their diet is varied, which is very possible. It is doable. Just off of the top of my head, what I feed my leopard gecko is things like mealworms as an occasional treat, same as waxworms. The majority of her diet is made up of locusts and dubias. Very rarely she'll get crickets, mainly because I'm not a massive fan of the crickets and having them in the house. And she will also have black soldier fly larvae, I think they are, which are really good as well. But basically they will eat insects. They will have favourites, they will have ones that they prefer, ones that they don't. But keep it varied because they have been known to get bored of a single species diet. So make sure you're keeping it varied and keeping them interested. So on the topic of food, let's talk about supplements. You definitely want to make sure that the majority of your feeds are dusted with calcium. Please note that any calcium with D3 is only necessary if you don't offer UVB. Otherwise, you can just go for a normal sort of calcium dusting powder. Arcadia have got a great feeding and supplementation program on their website, which I will show here. But yeah, it is important to make sure they get their boost of calcium. Now, Dottie here, my leopard gecko, she does have a little bit of MBD. That's how she came to us. Luckily, it's never got any worse than just her little claw. But since I've had her, I have since upgraded my care and she has UVB and calcium dusted insects. Leopard geckos as babies, you probably want to feed every day just to make sure they're getting their calories in, making sure they're getting that calcium boost. And just a few insects each day, just make sure that they're eating them, especially if they're crickets, because crickets have been known to bite the animals, especially if they're quite small. Please don't let this put you off. It's not 100% going to happen, but it can be doable. So just make sure that they are eating whatever you put in there if it's crickets. And just keep an eye on how much they're eating and their body shape, and just make sure you're not overfeeding or underfeeding. As they get a little bit older, you can lessen that to every other day. And then when they hit adulthood, I probably feed Dottie maybe once every sort of 3 days, maybe every 4 days if she has a big meal. So if she has a couple of really big roaches or maybe a load of waxworms as a little treat, I'll make sure that she goes that extra day without having too many calories and getting fat, because we don't want fat animals. Now, a lot of people seem to think that leopard geckos are just a desert species. Leopard geckos come from a vast area out in the wild, some of which is actually very damp and humid. Now, I'm not saying set them up in a damp and humid environment. All I'm saying is don't set them up as if it's just a desert. You do want a 30 to 40% humidity in their enclosure, which will help them shed. When you do see them in shed, make sure to spray that humid hide even more so, or just even put a little bit of a spray inside the enclosure. You will find a lot of people are against spraying a leopard gecko enclosure, but the only reason I do it is because it simulates rain, which they will come across in the wild. Just don't do it too often, only if you see that they're going into shed. So you do usually want to offer a minimum of sort of 3 hides. You want obviously a warm hide, a cool hide, and a humid hide. The way I've got it set up is a warm hide on the left hand side, a cool hide sort of in the middle, which is done as a cork stack. So there's different levels, different layers and different temperature gradients in that stack. And then my humid hide is on the far right hand side in the corner, which has got sphagnum moss in there, which I will continue to dampen every now and again. Like I say, especially when I see she's gone into shed. But again, you want to offer variety, you want to make sure that this animal will get whatever it needs whenever it needs it, and that the opportunities are in place for it to do what it needs to do. So regulate heat, regulate humidity, anything like that. We've got leaf litter, which hopefully is hiding all of our cleanup crew. I've not seen any for a little while, so she might have eaten them. We've got dried grass, which I think just finishes off the look of the enclosure, but obviously it's more places to smell, hide, taste, just a bit more enrichment, something else to do, so that it's not a boring enclosure with nothing in there. You've got your hiding opportunities, you've got your basking opportunities. She can sit under there for warmth, or she can sit up top, which I've caught her doing so before. So a lot of the time leopard geckos are recommended for beginner reptile keepers, or mainly a child's first reptile, because they can be seen as friendly, they're not very aggressive, and that they can be tame. This is true to an extent. My biggest advice to you, if you want a leopard gecko that you can handle, is choice-based handling. Essentially what this means is, instead of opening the enclosure, opening it up, forcing your gecko to come out, holding the gecko and putting it in a completely new environment that it's not sure about, just slide open the glass, put your hand there and just offer to see if they want to come out. If they don't want to come out, don't force anything, otherwise you'll create that negative impact and that negative thought. If they come out of their own accord, make sure you don't go too far, make sure you don't scare them, sudden movements, change of environment, just let them crawl out, see what they think, and then go straight back in. And the more positive interactions you have, the easier it will be, and the more willing your leopard gecko will be to come out and interact with you. It's not going to happen overnight. Please don't expect a leopard gecko to just be happy from day one to come out and sit on your shoulder. These are sentient beings that we need to make sure we have positive relationships with. Enclosure size, the bare minimum enclosure size for one singular leopard gecko is 3 feet across by 1.5 feet deep by 1.5 feet tall. This is the minimum. So basically what we're saying there is, whilst you can get away with one in there, there is absolutely nothing wrong with going bigger. If you do, please just make sure that you do continue to clutter it, utilise the space. Whilst they're not very big climbers of logs, branches, things like that, a cork stack is good, or a rock stack. Things that they can use their muscles, but that they can't fall and potentially hurt themselves. So just bear that in mind if you go for a bigger enclosure, but there's nothing wrong with going bigger. I have currently got Dottie in a 3 by 1.5 by 1.5. I am hopefully in the future going to custom build her a bigger enclosure. Full custom background, hides, ledges, caves, all that sort of thing. But this enclosure is one of my favourites at the moment, but I am planning on improving it more so. If you're looking for an animal that isn't going to live long and that you'll just have for a short amount of time, leopard geckos are not for you. Whilst a lot of shops and people may tell you they could live up to 8 to 10 years, in captivity you're probably looking 15 to 20 years on average. So this is a pet that you must commit to. You have to make sure that if they are around for a very long time, that you're willing to care for them for that long of a time. The males usually get to between 8 to 10 inches long. Females are usually a little bit smaller. They're not a massive animal, but they will use the space that you offer them. A lot of people think they're boring and that they don't move. This isn't true. I do find Dottie out and about quite often, so make sure that they've got the space necessary. From myself and Dottie, I think that'll do for this little care guide. I hope it's been helpful. Please note that this is quite a basic care guide. This is just the things you need to know if you're thinking of getting a leopard gecko. The things you need to know, the things that are important. If you've got any questions or queries, you're more than welcome to reach out to me, either in the comment section or a DM on Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. If I don't know the answer, I will direct you to someone who I believe does, and we can all make sure we've got happy, healthy animals. With that being said, a very quick shout out to my Patreon members. Thank you very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. You are really, really helping me on this journey, so thank you. If you want to get involved, the link will be in the description. As for the rest of you, thank you for your support. Every like and comment and share really, really does help me out, so thank you. But that aside, ladies and gents, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.